Hello, everyone. Finally, I have time to make this feedback for May 29, 25 images in 52 assignments. As some of you might know that my live stream back in beginning of June went totally wrong. It never started. So no idea what happened. There was something wrong with the software, and now I have a different software, and I decided to do this in the style of a live stream. So it is pre-recorded, and as you know, it is published as a premiere in YouTube. So it is as close as live as it can be. And I will make the next video also like this. And then the August images, I will have a full live stream. Hopefully that will work that way. And I'm really sorry about all this. And as you probably know, I also had a little break during July from making YouTube videos, and I just last Friday published a video about the future of my channel, which some of you might have watched and some might not, but if you haven't, I will put a link in the description for you to take a look at that video to know what's going to happen around my channel. But I did not have a real vacation this summer, in a sense of a regular vacation that I did not do anything. What I actually did was finishing my book called From Snapshots to Stories, and it's already available in Gumroad, and I will have a link in the description. I think I published 9 chapters over there, and I will add a couple of more in a few days, and after that I will publish the finished book in Gumroad, which is available for those who have bought it when it's not finished yet. And that was the deal. And then the final version will be the full book in print version, which is not, of course, not included in the PDF. But I hope I can finish it by the end of this month. And really excited about that. And I hope you also enjoy. If you enjoy street photography, this is really a good tutorial book for that, with a lot of images and a lot of tips and tricks about street photography. And it's not really, I would say, 101 in a way that if you don't know anything about street photography, it might be, well, it's hard to say if it's for you. Maybe you'll take a look at the PDF and see for yourself, and then get the book if you feel that it is something for you. But now I think we should get into the images. After, I need to say a few words about our upcoming workshop in Kuala Lumpur. It'll happen in 30th of March and it lasts for a week till April 3rd. And I will be having it together with Matti Sulanto and Robin One, probably 2 photographers and YouTubers you already know. But more about in the link on the screen there, where you can take a look and maybe sign up. And we've already have quite a few sign-ups, so it most likely will happen. So grab your spot if you're interested in that. It's going to be a great week of photography. But now, let's look at the statistics from May 25. We got 66 photographers. We lost a few. I think we had a little over 70 last time. And 300 images, which is quite a bit. And the most popular was week 22. And I gave points to 32 different photographers. The points means that 32 photographers had their image in top 10. And the subject was multiple exposure. And of course, there were some images made in post and some in camera, and it didn't really matter, because to me, the only important thing is the final image. And it doesn't really matter how you make it, because usually if you make a double exposure, you need to think in advance anyways which image go together with another image. So you might take them separately, but the multiple exposure in mind, and then you combine them in post. But if you made it in camera, that's also a great way of learning. But let's start with the images. Let's see, hope this works. This is something that I haven't really tried. Let's see. All right, this Christina Barnes image is a good example of a very good way of using multiple or double exposure. I think this is a double exposure. No, maybe it's a multiple exposure actually, because I don't think there are any houses like that. And I like how the background is a little kind of muted colors, and then you have really bright person. It's not a silhouette, but the side view of a person, and it works really well with the stripes also on it, and how it is so bright that we really see that, and the buildings kind of make a really beautiful leading lines towards the person. I think it's a great way, and not something that I've seen done that many times when multiple exposure, and that's why I enjoy this image. Whoops, sorry, let's go back, wrong button. Then we have Raquel Duarte, who's been actually leading the whole thing, and again she has a image in top 10, and very classical way, and a beautiful image with the sky and the flowers and a woman there, just a pleasing looking image, and the colors and the contrast between the yellowish skin color, or the warm color of the skin, and then the clothing is very close to the color of the green that's on the ground, and then she's floating in the air, and I think it's a beautiful image, and it's worth having it on top 10 this month. Then we have Roland Fisher's very clever image to have never remember the name of this flower in dandelion or something like that in English, and then some kind of a mast of some sort in the building, and I think it works really well, and well positioned, and a fun image, a good composition too, and a clever idea. This works really well. Then we have Johannes Oertner's image with some two nets, probably a close-up of the tennis racket, and then a picture of a tennis racket put on top of each other, and works really well because of the net between the two sides in tennis court and all that. I think something, if there was a tennis ball in this, it would have probably been even better, but I think this is a clever way, and I also like how it's a little bit tilted, so that it's like kind of like someone is actually hitting the ball with that, and I think that's a nice and simple way of making a multiple exposure, or probably a double exposure this time. Then we have this Ian Wade's image, which is a real classical. I was thinking that we would see more of these, but I'm glad we didn't, because this is an interesting way of doing, and tells kind of like something about the person. You would think that this person loves books, of course. There is a story in the thing, and maybe the books tells even more about her. I didn't really take a closer look of the books, but there are some novels and Grisham written story, and then there is I don't know if that's a book about Man Ray, maybe not, but it's just a clever way of making a portrait and telling a story about a person, and this is quite widely used, but I think this one was pretty well made, because I like the position of a person. It's a little tilted and not straight up, and it's kind of like thinking, which of course is correlation with the books and the information inside the books. So that's really something interesting. Yeah, well done. Then we have Ari Tiedenberg, another quite classical double exposure, or maybe, yeah, it's probably double exposure. And what I like about this is that there is a reflection in the window, which kind of like makes a third layer in the image, or actually fourth layer, because you have the window, you have the trees in the back, and then you have the sky, and then you have the reflection in the window. And I especially like how the top right hand corner of the window is a little broken. There is a little, hole in the window. You can't see it through because, of course, in a multiple exposure, if it's bright white, the background, you can't actually see the second exposure. So having something dark like the forest there makes the image look a lot better. So that's why I think this one made top 10. Then we have this very interesting looking image, which is probably 4 images, maybe, because of the background. There is some houses in the background, then you have the house in the front, and then you have them flipped, and visually very good idea. And I really enjoyed this image because first of all, it's a little bit different, and then a quite clever idea, and not only the idea but also very well executed, and really good image editing, because the house kind of extends seamlessly. There is you can't see a line or any glitches between the houses or any sign of image editing, even though it's made in post, I bet. And I don't say if I said that the image is by Don Dicker, and got 5 points with this image. Very good. Then we have this image from Brad Warrior, which made me smile in a way, because it's a kind of funny image, and I've seen these made sometimes in some car magazines, but I think this one was very well made, because I like the use of wide angle lens and the curve of the front of the car, and then the engine, and it's really well made composition to the composite, not composite, well, composition too, but the composite is seamless. You can't really see it. It actually looks like you can see it through the bonnet of the car. So it's well made image, and a clever idea to have the technique inside the thing or the car. It's well made image. Then we have this cutting of a tomato, which was probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images at least, and really well made. This could be done also with flash, but I don't think it's made with flash because it doesn't look like that. And something about this image, even though I very seldom like black backgrounds, but on this one I think it's really good, because it really makes the red tomato and the knife pop out, and the hand. I could probably add a little bit exposure, so a little bit brighter the image. It might be on this screen a bit. Usually when I've used StreamYard, the images are a little bit darker than they appear in Lightroom, for example. But you can still see all the details, and I enjoy it. And I really like that the tomato is that way, so that you can see the green part also. That's a good one. And let's see. Then Patrick Wandelberger had the best image on this. I think there's a little sense of mystery also in this image, which didn't really was interesting, because there is also a sense of mystery this month. But other than that, I think it's just really well made. Double exposure, most likely. It could be, no, it's probably double exposure. And the background fits so well with the character, and the silhouette of the character just works fine. And it's really, it could be a scene from a movie almost. That's one reason I really enjoyed this image. And this was well made. And this always, when I pick these images, it's always my opinion. And of course, you might think differently. And I will have these images in Picdrop again, and I will upload them after this has been aired, this premiere that I'm making. And let's talk about week 19, Sense of Mystery. This was really interesting. A lot of good photographs here, and let's go to the first image. Here we have Eric David, someone, a character behind the door. This could also be a multiple exposure. I don't know how this was made. Probably it was a door with this foggy glass that you can see through, and there is a sense of mystery. Who is that? Even if there was a kind of like a hand, something like this, then it would have been even better. But I think it works quite well because you don't really know the intentions of the person that's coming through or wanted to come into the house or indoors. And then I love this image from Richard Faucher because of the two eyes inside the tree. I don't know what it actually is. Maybe there's some holes that look like eyes, and then the black and white makes it a little sinister, and the darkness and the vignetting and everything. You really concentrate on the eyes here, and it just works, and it's like a character, and you don't really know what it is. Is there someone inside, or is that tree the character, or whatever? I think it works just perfectly like that. Yeah, well done. Then we have Isabelle Fourré, the image, and this is well lit. I like the lighting on this because it's not even lit, but you have some patches of bright spots in the image. And then what's really cool about it, of course, one chair is down and what has happened, and in the background you have light inside of the house, and then the black walls and the high contrast and the flowers and 2 glasses, and there's so much story in the image, and this is just marvelous. Then we have this Johannes Oerdner's image, which is a little bit different mystery because it's so colorful, and this also probably could be multiple exposure and intentional camera movement and some adding saturation in post because of the thing, and the mystery comes here that it looks like that it's a cathedral or some sort because of the window on the left side of the image, and yeah, you would first I was thinking that this is actually a mystery, but it was a mystery for me, the thing, because you really don't know what's going on there, and this can be a mystery in my opinion. Yeah, and the colors, as I already said, are great, and then the composition and the clever use of different techniques. And then this image from Ran Yossi with the path in the front. I'm not really sure if there's a path or is that made with image editing. As you see the curve there that leads to something, like there is a character inside the building. I don't know if there is, and it's a little I would say, yeah, mystery, but the colors and the tones of the image just fits perfectly for this type of image, and the composition and the black sky there is also pretty good, and the composition, because it goes a little bit down from the left top to the right, so that there is some air there, and then the front points the things, whatever the plants are there, they're pointing to the same direction as the path, which, as I said, is probably made with image editing. Not sure, or maybe there is something in the front that is out of focus. I don't know, but very clever made image. And then this Christina Barnes image, I think she had a second image in top 10 this month, which is well done. And the little teddy bear, and then you have some little shoes and little sad image. You don't know what has happened. It's a pretty tragic image, and the mystery is of course there because we don't know what has happened. Probably something bad has happened, but we don't know what. And the composition is really well made. The other shoe is in front, and then the other one is in the back, and then you have to see the third thing, which is, I believe, a teddy bear or a bunny or something like that. And usually if you have 3 things in an image like this, the two shoes and then the bunny rabbit or teddy bear in the back. It usually is enough. If you have more elements, the image might be getting too busy. So I think that one tells a lot more and makes it more interesting than you don't stuff too much elements inside an image. And of course, the foggy thing between the three elements is adding to the image and makes it more interesting, so that there is some texture and some variations with light. And then this is probably again a multiple exposure, even though it was put in the sense of mystery category this time. This could have worked in multiple exposure, but I think this was the better category because it got 5 points, and it was Patrick Vandenberg's second image. He had the best image in the previous category or previous assignment, and now 5 points with this, which is pretty remarkable. He's done well so far. And this is probably also a zooming in or out through a door in, I don't know, maybe a old castle ruins or something, and there is a door, and then adding the moon there gives the sense of mystery. And then also with the zooming, we kind of think we're sucked into the image, to the whole and to the unknown, which makes this the mystery, in my opinion. And then the simple image from Pascal Giguère, a really well-made composition, the tones, the minimalistic vibe, and still there is a mystery because there's a really bright light in the window. And what I like about these images this month is that you've really made really good compositions in many images because of the idea that you have the thing that we want, or you want us to watch and see first, is the brightest part in the image. And I think that's remarkable. And I think that there is probably some progress in that too, because I talk a lot about that, and that makes me really happy to see that people are learning. I'm not saying that you haven't done that before, but on this particular month, I think it was something to if we want something to pick up with, which was something good about the whole thing. Yeah, that was 6 points. Then we have Danyana Tay's image, which is a total mystery, because I don't know if this is an art gallery with some images, and I love the way that this is made, the composition, because first you don't really, you get a little bit confused and what's going on. Then all of a sudden you realize that someone is looking at you, and then there is a painting in the right lower hand corner, or right hand lower corner, or which way you say it. And yeah, it's just something different, and there is so many let's say that in so many levels there is a big mystery. It's the image itself, and then why was this made is a mystery, probably because of the assignment. I don't know, maybe there was something that she would have made anyways. And then the eyes, as I already said, is the key thing, where, and you kind of for me it is the brightest part. But what I first saw is the painting on the corner there, down there. That's what I saw first. And then all of a sudden I said, hey, wait a minute, somebody's looking at me. And it worked really well for me. And then we have this by Cliff Collins, a mystery. I don't know what's going on, but it is probably a staged image, as you can tell. And, I don't know, the smog on the fog, and someone's sitting there, and there's something in the front, which I can't really say if it's something. I don't know if this is the torture or whatever this is. It's looks like a part of a movie, and I think that's why it's very cinematic image, and that's why I think it's the best image from this. Congrats, Cliff. It was a great image. And we still have quite a few. And okay, now I've blocked the essence of hometown, an area. And this was all about making images surrounding your areas where you live, maybe where you commute to work, or whatever area that you feel that is kind of like your hometown or your area. And I have to say that this category was not your best work overall. It's probably the hardest part is to photograph your own surroundings. This is part of why this was there, because we're too familiar with the surroundings that we don't see the special things, and that's why it's probably, I'm not saying that the images were bad, but it didn't go as high as the other assignment has been so far. But nothing away if you got your images to top 10, great work anyways, because it's always hard to get. As you can see that out of 66 photographers, 32 get their images into top 10, which means that the competition is fierce. It's not only a few, even though there were some this month that might have gotten a few more than the others. But let's continue with week 20. And Don Goff image with the big badminton, do you call it ball or feathers or whatever you call that? And I think it's a clever statue and well-made composition. You have the one big one, then you can see that there are others over there, and then you can see the building. So it's some park or some sort where this image was made, and that was something interesting. And the colors and everything. Of course, this is always something when you photograph a statue in some context, and might some of the part of the image or why it's good, it comes because the place looks interesting. But that's part of seeing also then and making the image. And especially like that there are two of these, so that you can see the one and then you can see the second one. It gives more context, and you can imagine there might be a third one somewhere, and makes it more interesting. Then we have Saint Armand, Bob Saint Armand. I hope Armand. I hope their name is correct. I might have misspelled that. Sorry if I did. And the big lobster and the fisherman tells a lot about the areas, probably a fishing town by the sea. Maybe a little bit wider crop could have been something that tells a little bit more. Of course, there is the house, which tells a little bit about what the area looks like, and there is enough information that makes my imagination go around and see. Made a lot of pictures about this place because there is enough information, but still I would have wanted to be a little bit wider. It could have been a bit higher in the rankings if it was a little bit wider, but it made top 10 anyways. And then a memorial statue, and the house by Peter Tindley. Well-made image, really good composition. Again, there's three elements: the statue, the silhouette in the front, or is it a statue? It probably is. I'm not really sure, to be honest. It could be actual person, not really sure. And then you have the statue, the memorial statue, and some water, and then there is an old building in the back, and really, and of course the sky is beautiful. Maybe a little bit contrast to the sky, so it would be even more punchy, the colors, but it works well like this too, because it's a different style that I would make, but it doesn't matter. It works really well, and in the color tones and the greens and the gray building and the memorial works well, and the little detail, the white fence that is reflecting the water kind of adds something to the between the or inside the water that makes our eye wander towards the house. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to see here what you see first here, because I see the house first. It's the brightest part, and then I work my way back to the front of the image. And usually if someone makes my eyes wander around the image, I see something, then I start learning and finding some other things. It usually works really well, because then I'll stay with the image longer and start thinking, and my imagination start thinking a lot more and making what's around it, the place. And then we have Iron Wade, I think, is the second image, and yeah, this is city of Ipswich. Never been there, so I have no idea. But this tells quite a bit. It looks like a pretty average looking. I wonder what that was. Pretty average looking city, and yeah, worked well. This well made composition. I like how the lamppost you shown it, and then you have the sign there that takes us into and then there's a long road, probably downtown area, and some buildings, and yeah, it says Ipswich Central, so you're going downtown from that road, and then there's another road there goes, and yeah, it's a well-made composition and a good representation of the city as image. And I don't know if the red lights are something that you're not supposed to go there, or is this made from the car window inside a car? I don't know. Waiting in the traffic lights could be. Not sure. And then this image from Brad Warrior, I think this is his second image too on the top 10. I love the composition here. You see the probably a lady in front of the sunset in the perfect position of the sun and the horizon, just above the horizon, and it's like a hat on her, and she's probably making an image. And then there's the couple that are fishing, and someone is looking at the phone, and then you have a third person, or kind of like a fourth in the front, which I think, even though it's one more element, but I think it kind of blocks our eye to wander around or off the image. It kind of takes us back, and we go back to the sun, which is right there in the center, which I think the kind of symmetry in the composition too works really well, this image. Well done, Brad. Then we have Andreas' image, and the army of scooters, or what do you call these? I'm not sure, but these are, to be honest, a big pain, because people are driving on the sidewalks and going like really fast, and they're dangerous, and a lot of accidents here in Finland, because they ride people like three on top of them, and they fall down, and it's a big mess. And I'm really usually liberal about things, but I would say that they should abandon these or prohibit these, because it's nothing positive about them, and people can't use them. They've showed, at least here in Finland, that people are not responsible enough to use them correctly. Sorry about this rant, but that's what came to my mind of this image. And I like the composition. You get 5 of these, the green colors and the background. And then what I like about it is some red character in the background. And I think it looks like the character is on one of these, even though probably not. And maybe a couple of colorful cars would have been even better here. And then you have the flag on top, and the archway there, and on this square probably. Yeah, this color contrast was one of the things, and it tells a lot about the place, and I can also think what's around there, which is always something interesting when your imagination starts to wander around and think what's around it. It could be totally wrong, but as I said, the imagination is never wrong. It always boosts up your thinking. Then we have this Rainer Vogel's image, which I like that it was tilted. It looks like it's tilted, even though it's not, because the funicular, or whatever that's called, it looks like it's the image is tilted, because the slope is not that deep, and then but the impression comes because it's made a little bit from the down upwards, and then of course the bubbly in front and the flowers and the colors of the flowers gives some depth to the image. Without the elements in the front, it would not have been that interesting, because those take us into the image, and then we wander back, and then we come back, and then there is also the driver that is concentrating and looking at right in front of him, which is of course the proper thing to do. And yeah, and of course the sky always is better this way than just pure white sky, overexposed sky. This is always better. Yeah, well done, Rainer. And then we have this panoramic image by Alan Cooper, which is of course caught my eye because it was a panorama. It was a little different. That always helps if you can come up with some original. Well, panorama is not that original, but yeah, in this case it was, because it was not that common to have this panoramic image. And I like the story that he tells about. It's an old place with some, probably some docks and harbors in the city, and old mills and factories inside that area, which gives me a lot of information about the place, even though I don't remember right now what the place was. I'm not sure if Alan told us, but anyways, it's not the point what the place actually is, but what it tells me and how interesting it is. But yeah, there was 6 points for Alan from this image. And then we have this image from Patrick Hug, interesting to photograph this sticker on a lamppost, which is, I don't know if it's a sports, I didn't look it up, if it's a sports team, even though it's at 13-12, it's probably not, it's something else. But I don't know what it is. Jokers 02 FCSG, no idea what it is. But it's a good point for us to take a look, and then we can see the cathedral. And there's probably a square, because there's always a square in front of these cathedrals or public buildings, and some modern lamppost and the contrast and the composition. I just love that it goes a little bit this, so that there's a little like a perspective error with the tilting towers and the tilting pole. Yeah, and the color contrast with some red there, and then blue and gray and green. It's there's a lot in this image, and again, maybe seeing a little bit more. Not sure if that would have made it better or not. It's hard to say because I wasn't there. And then we have Paulo Guerra. This image is most likely from Lisbon, because this looks familiar, and what makes the image is the yellow umbrella there, and it tells a lot about that area. And of course, okay, I've been there, so I know the area, and that's why I think I've been there. Not sure if this is Lisbon. It looks like it is. Yeah, it must be because of the trams, and the person or the people that are there are just perfectly as a bird, and then there's some tourists, and they're walking around, some are taking pictures, and this is always really hard to take an image of a place like this because of the amount of people, and so that if they are in the wrong positions, the image is ruined. And if you don't have this yellow umbrella in front of a yellow building and a blue sky, it didn't work. Without the umbrella, it wouldn't have worked. But the brightness and the everything works in this image. Yeah, congratulations, Paolo. And then we go to the next week. We've already been here for 40 minutes, and let's try to get this done in a decent amount of time. I don't want to rush though, but let's look at the images from week 21. And another image by Alan Cooper, and really dreamy effect, night dream, and maybe a little horror dream. And there was, I think there were two approaches from you guys. Some was like when you're sleeping, you have dreams, and then you might have dreams in your life. And I think there were both, and I didn't really distinguish that. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. So it doesn't really matter. It's a dream anyways. You can interpret that in two ways. And yeah, this is interesting because this is in color, but you have some kind of like a spider looking in the front, and then you have this bizarre looking world, and maybe again a multiple exposure, which I like, that you kind of use the ideas from different assignments into several assignments, and that's something that I did last year. That I had a May theme of the month, and then 4 assignments under that same theme, and I think that was not a bad idea, even though I don't think you enjoyed it that much. But this month tells me that you might implement that idea anyways. Yeah, but well done, Alan. Then we have Jens Daegard's image from the Hockey World Championship, where Denmark did very well, and his dream was that they would have won Sweden, but if I remember correctly, they did not. Well, Finland did even worse, so not talking about those hockey games that much. And yeah, it's probably an image from television. Can you see the scoreboard there? And it was still scoreless at the time when he was making the image. And this was also a double exposure probably. And I like how there is the yellow Swedish hockey player, and then you have the yellow car in the back, and and then you have a yellow on the other side. So there's a kind of like a triangle where you go through. And I think there was really cool idea and well-made image, and really on the spot, the dream at that time. And I think that was something interesting. Then we have this image from Roland Fischer. I don't know what the dream is, probably jumping from the plane, and or falling from the plane. It's a bit horrifying. And I like the image editing with the little bluish color. It's not a real sinister blue because of the blue sky, and the character is just looks scary, and it's on a good spot, and it's probably a multiple, not a multiple exposure, but a composite image, which works on this really well. It would have been hard to make it otherwise, and it could be, or it is probably a one of those planes that you can throw, and then it has a little propeller, one of those recreational little, not real big planes, but what do you call them? Small planes that you play around with. Yeah, and I also like the fact that it's cropped the way it is, that the wing doesn't, you don't see the whole wing on the up there, and then the color of the wing, because you can see it through the wings, and blue and white, and then you have the character jumping down, and you can my eye wander around the image quite a bit, which is always a good sign. And then Anne Kasurinen, which looks really Anne Kasurinen image. And the funny thing is that she has a very distinctive style, which is always something really strange. And I usually, when I look at this image, I don't, look who made the image before I score, and I look at afterwards, because I don't want anything to affect the way. But usually when I see her images, I already can guess pretty confidently that it is her image. And this is probably also a nightmare, and it got the clock and the time, and I like the lighting and the orange shoot. I don't know if it's the Orange is the New Black TV series that was inspired by that or whatever. And then you have the picture on the wall of a flying bird, and then it's probably a nightmare, and some really crazy, I don't know if it's the Orange Clockwork or whatever the movie name is. Maybe it's from that, I don't know, but it's visually really well made image. And then Ian Wade, very real dream to have an exhibition. That's how I interpret this, and well made image. And I like how it is soft, with this, I don't know, filter in the camera, or maybe it's a filter done in post. I'm not sure. I don't know. But it's kind of like a mist filter, because you can see the white bleed on the black, and the composition and everything, and just bleeding. And yeah, why not make your dream come true? You've got some good images. And then we have Raquel Duarte's image, which is really, really something strange. But it's probably that she has this nightmare that she's caught up without any clothes in somewhere where there are a lot of people and don't know where to go, or something has happened. I don't know, but it's very strange image, but really well executed and a cool looking image. And usually I don't like spot colors, but on this one I have to say that the skin tones of that lady without clothes is totally fine, and then you have black and white, because she really sticks out on this. And if somewhere you could use spot colors, I think this image is something that it works so well. And then this from Johannes Ortner, visually really pleasing looking image. Maybe a multiple exposure again. You got some what do you call that? Birds, nest. What do you call those? That's probably what it is, or some playground and in front of a apartment buildings. I don't know, but it looks interesting, and not, to be honest, really sure what the dream is. I'm sorry if I missed that on the what do you call the form that you sent. Yeah, but it works really well, and I especially like the colors, the red, and then the pastel color in the back, and the little dreamy feeling, which works well on this image. And then we have Pete Smith. She's on a stage, and then you have this background. I don't know, this is probably a multiple exposure, or maybe made in post a composite, or maybe there's a screen in the background that shows the other dancers bigger, and then there's a lot more movement and such. And maybe this is a dream that he has, that he wants to be on a stage, or maybe it was a dream of the girl. But yeah, very well executed image. I really enjoyed the color palettes and everything, and then the moment, just marvelous, visually pleasing image, and hits the brief too. And then we have Andrea Barroso image, and this is also, you can interpret this many ways. Get blocked in the elevator or in some corridor, and you don't, or some mirrors, and you don't know where to go. You're stuck somewhere. Or then it may be the word. I don't know if that's the thing, but very well executed image again, which has a lot of depth in it, even though it doesn't have that many layers. But the reflections on the maybe it's it must be an elevator, but it's always a nightmare if you, at least many of us, are a little bit claustrophobic if you get into and it stops and you can't get out. It's horrifying. We all had those dreams probably, or nightmares. Then we have Paulo Guerra's image, and I think he had another 10-point image too, if I remember correctly, with the Lisbon image. And yeah, this is a strange looking place. It's probably could be a art exhibition or some sort, or maybe it could be also a composite image through a glass window that's kind of like added there into the area, or it might be there. But yeah, it is kind of like several dimensions there. You have the front, and then you have something in the between, and then you have the background, and it's a strange image, and I can really see that this is a dream or a nightmare. And the composition, the colors, and everything, it hits the brief so well, this image. Congratulations, Paulo. Great stuff. And then we have week 22, one more week to go on this month's dream. We had 5 on dream, the assignment. We had 5 on this, and yeah, this one was something that you did quite well on, because there are probably a lot of nature photographers attending this or taking part on this particular assignment. But let's get into, we've been there 50 minutes, so we have still some time ahead of us to go through the next images. And yeah, they have this from Tony Alford. one really good because of the leaf. If that was in a tree, it wouldn't be an image. But when it's on the ground, gravel, some dirt, whatever that is, the color contrast, and it's almost a perfect symmetry with the leaf and the image too. But of course there are little distractions in the background, which kind of is good because it breaks a little bit the symmetry without losing it completely. And I also like that it's not in portrait mode, that it's in horizontal mode, like the landscape mode. It makes a little bit different, because usually we think that the symmetry is this way, but this has this way, which I enjoyed on this. And let's go to the next image. We have this from Don Goff, and again, a really nice symmetry with the plant, and the composition is not completely symmetry, which I think is a good idea. It would have been too much, but and also that it's a little bit tilted so that the leaves go like this, so that it's not a perfect symmetry, but an interesting see. And you really need to see this and look around to see this. And of course, if you're doing a lot of macro photography or plants and flowers and stuff, you probably notice that there is this symmetry, and there are a lot of things that are quite symmetrical in the nature. And I like this a lot. Then we have Johannes Ortner's image. He had also a few images in top 10 this month. And yeah, and again, I like that it is a bit tilted, so that it's a little bit, broken, the symmetry. It is symmetrical. It would have been too much if it was just straight on. It could have worked, but I think it made it more interesting. And I like the color palettes and those the slight yellow orange color and then different shades of white. It's well seen image, and it's not. You would think that this is easy to take, but it's probably a very, very small item that he was photographing. Well done. And then Bob St. Armand, another image he had. And again, an interesting symmetry. You have these two branches from the ground, which are kind of symmetrical, but not. And then you have the opposite when it's, the composition, the horizon is in the middle. You have the sky and the ground kind of symmetrical, and it breaks a little bit on the underside. And then you have two poles like that. This could have been even a little bit better if you had tilted a little bit the image. Then it would have been more symmetrical with the two poles and the sides. And then we have this from Daniela Face. Really nice catch, this image, and what I like about it is that the background is also very symmetrical. The leaves and of course the butterfly is totally symmetrical. And this one, yes, what breaks it is the other leaf on the left side compared to the right side. That makes it, a little bit different, and it breaks it slightly, which makes the image a little bit more contrast. Would have probably done some justice to the image or made it better. And then Rainer Vogel, these tomatoes, really well done image, and probably saw this when it came from grocery store and saw that this was almost symmetrical, but symmetrical enough to be on this. And what I like about the symmetry here is, of course, the tomatoes, and so that they're not totally lined up. And then there's one that is a little bit smaller that kind of breaks the symmetry. And then, of course, the shadow in the front and the bright light in the back is kind of symmetrical, but the opposite. And that's why this image was chosen to be top 10 image. Then we have this ladybug from Eric David. And again, the background slightly breaks the symmetry, but the ladybug is total symmetrical. And also, again, it's this way and not this way. I think this one works better. It makes it more interesting like this. And of course, the colors, maybe a little bit contrast on this one too, would have made the red pop even more. And then Peter Hagen's image of these flying birds. And again, great symmetry in this. you got the pairs, and then one pair is a little bit off, which I think makes the image. And then, of course, the symmetrical composition, that you have the sun almost in the middle, and then you have the birds around there, and then a lot of negative space around. Really visually pleasing looking image. And then Alison Caseviel's image of a shell. And again, it's probably on a piece of glass, not really sure. Most likely it is, and well made. And what I like about that is the little difference between the colors. There's a little bluish tint on the lower one, which kind of makes it more interesting. So that there's a little difference, and then it's kind of symmetrical at the same time. But then the reflection is a little bit off, of course, because it's photographed from little upwards, and that's why it's breaks the symmetry a little bit. Then we have this from Patrick Wandelberger. I think his second image in top 10, and I just love this image. A perfect symmetry with the swan and the little swan there, and of course the little color difference in black and white. It's a little bit sad image, and everything just works so well, and the reflection too is kind of, I like the still that it's not full. I don't know, it would have been too much if you could see the whole head in a reflection. Maybe it wasn't possible because there's something on the water, so it's well cropped, and it's not that easy to photograph this because you need patience and, of course, a little bit of luck to get this, and so that the heads are in a perfect position. But yeah, this was the top 4 or the best images of each category. And there were 2 images from Patrick Wandelberger, 2 from Paolo Guerra, and 1 from Cliff Collins. And that's remarkable to get 2 best images. So really well done. And let's see how the point. Oh, first, of course. Sorry, I was ahead of us. The best image is from Patrick Wandelberger. This one was just by far the best. It's because I know how hard this one is to make, and it's just marvelous. Congratulations, Patrick. I don't know if you agree. Maybe you think that something else is better. I don't know. For me, it was this one. And as I always said, it's a matter of opinion always. Someone else would make a different pick, but as it's my assignment, then I'll get to choose. And then this was the points for this month, and Patrick Wandelberger got 32 points, which is a big amount of points. Paulo Gora 23 and Cliff Collins 14. And then the current leader that was before this month was Raquel Duarte, got 9 points. So there's a little change, and let's see if Duarte is still in front. But before that, remind you that I will upload all the images from all the assignments that hit the brief and were accepted as part of the assignment to Picdrop, and I will have a link in the description after I've uploaded. They're not there yet, but I will upload after I've published this video, and then I will send a newsletter where you can see the images. You've probably gotten it already if you're watching this. And then the total points after May, you got still Raquel Duarte's in front with 83 points, Paulo Guerra 61, and Wilfred Saise, who didn't do that well this month, has 55. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, both Raquel and Paulo are from Portugal. So there is quite a big lead from Portugal this time. And there you can see the others. If you had same amount of points, then you're still in like the sixth place. Pascal Giguer and Richard Foucher, they both had 44 points, so they're 6 points, and so that's why Rainer Vogel is 7th. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little different way of making a live stream, and I hope you enjoyed this and made it through here. Congratulations if you did, and all congrats to all who got their image into top 10. And I will do this similar way or live stream. I'm not really decided yet the July images. It's still early August, so I could make a live stream. Let's see if I can get it to work. But hey, it was really interesting, and thank you so much for sending those images. And I'm again really sorry about the live stream that went totally wrong in June. But yeah, actually, I will be making one of these type of videos about about June images. I haven't done that yet, so July might be a live stream. But keep on photographing and sending those images. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.